For the upcoming release of Avengers Infinity War, I decided myself that I wanted to review all the MCU movies before the release date of Infinity War, which is April 27th of this year. Alright, we're almost done reviewing the last 3 MCU movies. Sorry about being late, but let's start this off with Spider-Man Homecoming. Thrilled by his experience with the Avengers, young Peter Parker returns home to live with his Aunt May. Under the watchful eye of the mentor Tony Stark, Parker starts to embrace the newfound identity as Spider-Man. He also tries to return to his normal daily routine, distracted by thoughts of proving himself to be more than just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Peter must soon put his powers to the test when the evil Vulture emerges to threaten everything that he holds dear. This movie is really enjoyable. I'm surprised how much this movie stands out from all the other MCU movies. I think the reason why this is because of the fact that this seems like a high school movie. Peter Parker is just a regular teenager when he's himself, going to school, hanging out with his friend Ned, and when he's Spider-Man, he's a hero and he acts like it. There's no origin story involved, but it definitely feels like Spider-Man is just starting out. We're seeing him getting used to dealing with the bad guys, getting used to fighting crime, and do bigger things like the Avengers would do, not just being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The story is handled very well, and Tom Holland does a good job portraying both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Ned is an enjoyable character. I really liked everything about him, being the comedic relief, being that best friend that's always there for the hero. Aunt May was okay in this movie. She's not seen as much because Tony Stark is the main mentor. Mostly, they just use Aunt May because she's attractive. And that's the biggest joke that they use for her throughout the entire movie. I really like Tony Stark in this movie. The duel between him and Spider-Man is just awesome. Him being the mentor and being overprotected over Peter Parker was done very well. And you really do feel bad for Peter because all he wants to do is be more, but everyone's giving him a hard time because he's just a kid. What makes this movie really good is Michael Keaton as the Vulture. He's menacing, he's funny, and he's got a lot of character and personality in this movie. I enjoyed the plot twist, especially for this. Finding out that he had a family definitely made things surprising, because that's what we would least expect. And the fact that he was motivated to become a villain because he was the lower class and the upper class, such as Tony, made him lose his job. Overall, I think this movie is very decent and very original. I can't wait to see what they do with Spider-Man in the future. Okay, so moving on to Thor Ragnarok. Imprisoned on the other side of the universe, the mighty Thor finds himself in a deadly gladiator contest that pits him against the Hulk, his formerly ally of fellow Avenger. Thor's quest for survival leads him to a race against time to prevent the all-powerful Hela from destroying his home world and the Asgardian civilization. I have to say that this movie is amazing and funny. I love a lot of things about it. Let's talk about what I liked personally. My favorite thing about this movie would have to be the duo between Thor and Loki. I love their interactions in this movie. We're so used to seeing them fight and would never really get to see them get along or team up. We get to see that a lot in this, and we get to see them team up in Thor: The Dark World, but they do it much better in this movie. The interactions between them are funny and enjoyable. I like how the movie just starts off with Thor talking to a skeleton about how he's been through and whatnot, and the interaction with Surtur was definitely hilarious. I also like where the film takes place and how it transitions from Asgard to Earth and to Sakaar. My favorite scene would have to be with when Doctor Strange was interacting with Thor on Earth. And then we get to see Thor going on Sakaar, where we meet Valkyrie. I really love Valkyrie because she's a good character and has a good development. She's an alcoholic and she doesn't care very much anymore at this point about anything because she's beat up due to all the other Valkyries that got murdered in the past. Once Hulk comes on screen, that's when another good duo comes up. Personally, I like Thor's interaction with Bruce Banner more than the Hulk because they have a chemistry, and I don't know, it's just funny. It's just like the duo between Loki and Thor. Out of all the sense of humor in this movie, I have to say that Thor's was the best. I really think Chris Hemsworth really portrayed his character best in this movie. Some humor I didn't care for, like the Grandmaster's personality and whatnot. And I thought Korg was funny only because of his voice just stands out. Some of the jokes in this movie were a bit but for the most part, I did laugh. Lastly, I thought Hela was a decent villain. You could say that she is one of the better villains in the MCU, but at the same time, her motivation was just power and wanting to overthrow Asgard and become a ruler. You know, nothing interesting, nothing new, just a generic villain motivation, I guess. And we don't really get to see um, Thor or Hela interact a lot. We see them interact in the beginning and in the end of the movie, but I think Thor has more screen time on Sakaar. But other than that, I really love the action sequence and the fight between Thor and Hela at the end of the movie when they fight on Asgard. That was really cool. Overall, I thought this movie was very enjoyable, and if you need a good laugh, just go ahead and choose this movie. Alright, last but not least, it's time to do Black Panther. After the death of his father, T'Challa returns home into the African nation known as Wakanda. When a powerful enemy suddenly reappears, T'Challa as king and the Black Panther gets tested when he's drawn into conflict that puts the fate of Wakanda and the entire world at risk. Faced with treachery and danger, the young king must get his allies and release the full power of the Black Panther to defeat his foes and secure the safety of his people. This movie is very interesting. It received a lot of popularity and it did very well at the box office, exceeding over $1 billion. I remember when a lot of people were looking forward to it and having high expectations for it. I thought the film was really good. I praised it for its story and characters and the setting of Wakanda and more. The only thing about it that I didn't really care for would have to be the CGI effects. I didn't really care for Black Panther's new suit in the movie. I loved it in the beginning, but I like the realistic one over the Power Rangers morphing one that turns purple. That's the one I don't really care for. I mean, I enjoy more of the practical effects like in Iron Man 1 rather than the special effects. And the end fight scene for this movie almost looked like a PlayStation 2 game. Chadwick as Black Panther was great, like always. I love his character and portrayal of it. His motivation is to be king and wants to be the best, but he's struggling. It's funny because this movie has the exact same plot as Lion King, and you can relate to it so much when you put these movies side by side. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's pretty cool, especially when T'Challa goes to the realm with all the Black Panthers and interacts with his father. I think that was a really cool scene. And I love it when Shuri is driving the pretend car. I'm just going to call it the pretend car for now. And they were fighting at the bar with the Wakandan warriors right beside him. It was just great. Like I said, if they were more practical, in my opinion, they would be fine. I really like Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger in this movie. What I liked about his character was the motivation and why he is the way how he is right now. As a child, his father was killed by T'Challa's father, and it's a pretty deep story because he was just left there in America, and I understand his motivation for why he turned out the way how he did. Well, I did love Killmonger, but I wouldn't compare it to such villains such as the Joker, which is what I've heard that Michael B. Jordan was trying to go for, like a Heath Ledger kind of style. But to me, he just seemed more like a General Zod. He wants to rule, he's angry and whatnot. The only difference between him and Zod is that I can understand Killmonger's backstory more. I don't really know Zod's backstory, but that's not the point. And I really like how they add political problems to this. A lot of people roll their eyes and say, oh yeah, it's just political problems, it doesn't mean that it's good. But I like how it's portrayed, and that's what matters in this movie. Guys, in the end, I really like Black Panther, and I can't wait to see where Marvel takes this character in the future. So that's it, guys. I reviewed all the MCU movies, and I know it took a while, and I apologize for that, but hey, at least I got it all done. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed Infinity War. It was a great experience for me. If you still haven't seen it yet, it's on digital and it's on Blu-ray, so go and watch it. It's a really great experience, and I will see you guys next time.